Hey y'all, I'm back with another ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking everything that I bought with my budget in the second half of the year. So there are two videos that are kind of adjacent to this. One is the video in which I ranked everything I bought with my budget in the first half of the year. I filmed that in the middle of the year, right after the first half of the year was over, and I'll try to remember to link that down below. And then I just filmed a video ranking all of the makeup, specifically makeup, that I bought with my budget over the course of the whole year. So all of the items of makeup that were in that video that I bought during the second half of the year, the handful of them, are in this video too. It's just that they're interspersed with the other things that I bought. And obviously they're in the same order because they're ranked relative to each other. Relative to each other, they're in the same positions as they were in that video. But it's kind of interesting to see like how far up on the list when you're including everything that I bought individual items fall, or how close to the bottom individual items fall. I've found it kind of interesting doing them back to back. So I'll link both of those videos down below so you can watch them before this one if you want to. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. My name is Hannah and I am a passionate lover of beautiful things. So I budget for beautiful things. I do sometimes buy them for myself. I have the budget for that. But I don't want to buy too many things, and I also don't want to promote overspending on my channel, and I don't want to be an overspender. I used to be an overspender and I had to do a whole no-buy year to recover from that. So I try to make beauty content that is balanced. And if that sounds good to you, please subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. This was hard. This was like weirdly hard, this ranking video. And I'm trying to figure out why it was hard. I think maybe it's partly because I'm in kind of a weird headspace right now. It's been like a very weird year. If you watched my recent check-in, then you know that I'm kind of like not quite myself and still trying to figure out what to make of that. So it could be that. There are some things that are very clearly at the bottom of the list. There are actually some regrets. So that's pretty clear. Like the things that I sort of like wish I hadn't bought, or wish I could get my money back for, or feel funny about for one reason or another. And then the very top of the list wasn't too hard. It's the stuff in the middle. There's like all this stuff in the middle that it's like I'm like, well, I like it. I'm glad I bought it. But it's hard for me to tell that I like it more. It's hard for me to say clearly like, but I like it like 2 times more than the other thing that I also like, that I also am glad I bought. Like there's been all this stuff grouped in the middle. So maybe as we go through, I can keep reflecting on it, and maybe it does kind of represent like an evolution of my relationship with beautiful things, or with the way that I spend my budget, or the stuff. Like for example, there are 2 sweaters that are back to back. The 2 sweaters I bought from Poshmark, they're like a little ways down the list. I feel like in my daily life that I do love one of them more. Like there's one that I like more than the other, but I just don't feel like more glad that I bought one than the other, because they were both smart decisions for me. And so it was hard for me to, even though I did end up putting like the brown one and then the white one, because I think I kind of like the brown one a little bit better just for my own reasons, I just don't feel like it deserves to be higher on the list. It's like hard, for some reason it's hard for me to rank this stuff right now, because I feel like I'm either like making good purchases and I like my stuff and I'm glad and I'm managing to choose quality over quantity most of the time, or I'm not. And so that's kind of how the list has fallen. It's like the stuff at the bottom is the like, didn't quite have my own values in the forefront of my mind when I made these purchases. And then all the rest of the stuff I'm like, I did. And so I'm glad that I bought them. And that's kind of like the end of the story for me. We'll see. We'll see if this attitude follows me into next year, or if it's just something I'm dealing with right now. Needless to say, the 2 dresses that I bought, which are I think the 2 most expensive things that I purchased this year, I blew like the entire last bit of my budget, several $100s that I've been like saving pretty much for most of the year. And I spent all of it at once on these 2 dresses at the very end of, or not even the very end, it was like 2.5 months until the end of the year. Like it was like late October, beginning of November. And I just absolutely love them. And this has been a trend, right? I've been doing this. I've been publicly budgeting and telling you everything that I buy with my budget for 2 years now. I've been keeping track of everything and circling back to rank everything for 2 years. And every time that I have conspicuously chosen quality over quantity, every time that I have chosen to forfeit the option of buying many things by spending big chunks of my budget on fewer, nicer things. Every time I've done that, then when I've circled back, those things, those nice, expensive things have been my favorite things. They've been the things that have persisted in my memory and my heart, the things that have been the most iconic on my channel, the things that I feel like are most emblematic of my personal style, and the things that just, they're like the blazing torches of like the life that I want to live, not because they're fancy or expensive, but because they represent quality and they represent a kind of like focusing of my resources and, you know, the care that I took with the decision making when I bought them. And yet I still have gone on to sometimes be seduced by the temptation to just drop a little money here and a little bit of money there and to buy things just because I needed something and then kind of like ended up regretting it. Like I've done that even just in the last 6 months. So it's funny, like you can know something with your mind, you can know what you really want, you can make plans for yourself, but I do think that you have to kind of like try and it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like I think I've gotten better at it. I think these 2 dresses actually, it's case in point. Like I think it was a big deal that I was going to spend the whole rest of my budget before the end of the year because it forced me into a tacit no buy for the last couple months of the year. And to do that and to spend it on these dresses, I had to be sure that I wasn't going to regret it. And in order to be sure, I had to really know myself. I had to really know that I do value this quality over quantity and that I would rather have fewer, nicer things. And that did prove to be true. So I do feel like I'm making progress. And I do hope that I can like keep taking 2 or 3 or 4 steps forward before 1 step back. But the fact that I didn't just do that for every single thing on the list, the fact that there are some little things scattered in here and some regrets scattered in here, it just goes to show that you can't change overnight. Like no matter how well you know yourself and no matter how hard you try, you just have to give yourself a little grace. So the dresses are, if you follow me, you already know, but I'll just throw some pictures up on the screen really quickly to catch you up if you don't know. One is a dress by this brand Auto Dame, I think. Auto Dem. It's probably Auto Dem or Auto Dame. And I actually I'm following their future career with great interest. I really like their designs and I've like looked at their website and I've like looked at other stuff that they've done besides this dress. The dress is really fun, very like pretty loud for me, kind of out there. Although, I mean, I do like editorial things, but it's got a print that looks like, to me, amoebas, protozoa. You know, it looks like you're looking through a microscope, but it's also primary colors and just, I don't know, but it's very smocky, but it checks all my boxes, easy to wash, holds up beautifully, natural fibers. I can wear it around anytime. It's very versatile. I'll be able to wear it forever. Like that's what I was looking for in an investment piece for a dress, like an investment house dress. Doesn't show stains because it's got this great print. I absolutely love it. So that's at the very top of the list. The Doan dress I haven't actually even worn on camera yet. I did wear it in a video that something went wrong with the sound and we had to scrap the entire video, and it did look beautiful on camera, and I just haven't gotten back around to wearing it, maybe because it's been a little chilly. I'll try to remember to do that soon. I love it though. I absolutely love it. And this one I bought new. I bought it from Joanne. The Auto Dem dress, I had rented it through Nuuly, so it was secondhand and I didn't pay full price for it. I paid to keep it when I sent back my Nuuly. Nuuly is a clothing rental subscription service and you can like buy stuff if you want to, if you've rented it. And I didn't actually pay to rent it. It was like a complimentary month for review on YouTube. And then the joke was on me because I ended up buying one of the dresses that was in the box. The Doan dress I like picked out from the site. I bought it. I really like the brand. I've become kind of a super fan. Also following their future career with great interest. And it's just nice to have this one exquisite floaty cotton piece. But again, like it's got a print that will sustain stains. It's 100% cotton. So I've already washed and worn it a bunch of times and it washes up beautifully. And the silhouette, I bought it a little bit oversized and the silhouette is such that I feel like I'll be able to wear it forever. It's just perfection. And it's also got that combination of being, both of them have this, effortless to wear in terms of my physical experience. Like I can just throw them on and wear them. I could dress them up, dress them down, wear them around the house, sweat into them, and they're not going to get ruined. They're not delicate. They have that, but then each of them has something about it that's like a bit much, a bit on the edge, a bit Unexpected. They've added like a lot of texture and spice to my wardrobe, especially my house dress wardrobe, you know, with the doe-in when it's like these big puffed sleeves and like square neckline and some pin tucking in the bodice and ruffle in the skirt. And I like having that. I like that I have these two beautiful house dresses that are sturdy enough to be house dresses, but that are beautiful enough to really excite me. So with flying colors, they're at the top of the list. With flying colors. And I would like to remember this going into next year. I would like to say that when I'm about to make the first purchase of the year with my budget for 2021, that before I do it, I'll sit myself down and say, Hannah, remember those dresses? Remember that blouse from last year, end of the year? The same thing, at the end of the year last year, I spent like 2 months of budget on that one Ulla Johnson blouse, secondhand. I'd like to say that I'll sit myself down and be like, is this at that level? Are you gonna be as glad that you bought this? Are you gonna be as glad you bought this as you are you gonna be? Do I even speak English? Are you going to be as glad that you bought this as you are that you bought those things? And then maybe if the answer is no, don't buy them. Like, I'd like to think that is in my future. Right underneath them, close to the top of the list, I put the Danse Color Fix Foil in Milky Way. And it's just because I feel like, I don't know, it was just it has brought me so much joy, so much delight. And it's one of my favorite pieces of makeup ever. It's so shiny, it works so well. I'm just so happy that I got it. And as I was rearranging things on the list, it just kept bouncing to the top. And I got to the point where I was like, you know, underneath those two dresses, which I think are way above everything else, I'm comfortable with this kind of like being at the top of the list, even though it was like just $20 and it's like a piece of makeup. And there are some other things that I feel like are maybe more practical for me, like the sweaters, which are what's next. I just felt like putting it above the sweaters. But already we're getting into the weeds. Like already I kind of struggled because the next two things down are the two sweaters that I bought from Poshmark, two secondhand sweaters, both originally from H&M, but I bought them secondhand. I've been wearing them around the clock, absolutely around the clock. Both of them were like close to $10. Like it was very much like thrift shop. It was like going to the thrift shop to pick up two sweaters going into winter, except I did it online because of COVID. That's essentially what that buy was. I love them both. I love the Danse Color Fix Foil and Milky Way. All three of those things I wear incessantly. The next thing down is the Lisa Eldridge lipstick. And I absolutely love it. I feel like it's an instant classic. It's gonna keep me from buying a bunch of stuff in the future. Anything that even remotely approaches that in terms of like color and formula, like a matte red, like a Cinnabar red. I have that one, so I don't need any more. But it's hard to tell. Do I like the lipstick better than the sweaters? No. I'm just glad that I bought them all. So this is how I did it for the purpose of the video. Danse Color Fix Foil is like very close to the top. It's iconic, exquisite. Then the Poshmark sweaters, I just couldn't not put them close to the top because I've been wearing them consistently. Like they're some of my most worn items of clothing since they arrived. And I think that the only reason that the Lisa Eldridge lipstick is underneath them is because of that. Because even though I have worn it a number of times too, and I do get filled with warm, fuzzy feelings when I think of it, I just haven't worn it as much as I've worn them. It hasn't come in as handy. So it's a little harder for me to like put it above them, but you know, I love them all the same. And then underneath that, I feel like underneath the Lisa Eldridge lipstick, we've got a little bit of a break. Like the Danse Myricks, the Poshmark sweaters, and the Lisa Eldridge lipstick are kind of all together at the same level of thumbs up for all of them. And then below that, we sort of have another little strata. And that's the colorful clip-ins for my hair that I got. The hair extensions. And the other thing that's on that level is Patrick Tashi's So LA, which I talked about extensively in the video about my makeup. And I talked about why it was like kind of halfway down or halfway through, the translucency of it, the fact that it's a little bit more rosy and a little bit less brown. It's a beautiful piece of makeup. I'm not sorry that I bought it, but it's just, you know, it's not rising to the very top of the list. And the clip-in hair highlights, I mean, I think I would say I actually like them more than the Patrick Ta blush, and I've gotten a lot more use out of them. But they feel to me kind of like a tool for YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I spent my budget on them, but now that I've had them for a while and I've been using them, by rights, I could have allotted some of my channel budget for them. Like I could have had my channel buy them as like wardrobe costume, because I feel like I really just use them to switch up my look for YouTube. And that's the thing that brings me joy about them. So for that reason, they kind of slid down the list a little bit. I guess they kind of feel utilitarian to me. And also they were so inexpensive, you know, they're so cheapy peepy. It was just like a set for, you know, $10 or something from Amazon. So it's weird that I feel the same, that I feel like they are on the same line with the Patrick Ta blush, because it's so different in terms of like what they're for and how much they cost and how luxurious they are. But my sort of lukewarm feelings, I think, or mixed feelings about them matches my mixed feelings about the Patrick Ta blush, and that's why they kind of ended up on the same level, neck and neck. But you know, I'm still really glad that I would go back and do it again. I'd go back and buy them again. I'd go back and buy the Patrick Ta blush again. I think that they're great purchases for me. They're just a little bit lower on the list in terms of the Sparks Joy principle than the Lisa Aldridge, the Poshmark sweaters, and the Danessa Myricks Color Fix foil. So those are the top 8. Those are the 8 that are the great 8, the 8 that are great. And then there are 4 more things on the list, and we're kind of already moving into the regrets category. But at the top of the regrets category is the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light Wand in Pillow Talk Medium. And I talked about this again in the makeup video. It's one of the 2 pieces of makeup that I purchased this year that I'm choosing not to keep as we go into 2021. And this one I'm not keeping because it just doesn't look right on me, because the color, because of the copper reflex and the color. So you would think it would be at the very bottom. Traditionally, when I declutter something, if I like get to this point where I'm making this video about ranking and I have already decluttered something, usually that means it's at the very, very bottom of the pile, because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not even keeping it. It's already worthless. Like, it's worthless to me if I don't even have it anymore. So of course it's at the bottom, but that's actually not the case. The other 3 things at the bottom of the list, they're underneath this one. I'm ranking them as lower, but I am keeping them. And I'll tell you why for all 3 of those when I get to them. The reason the Pillow Talk Light Wand, the Pillow Talk Medium Beauty Light Wand is at the top of the list of 4 regrets, even though I'm decluttering it, is that I understand why I bought it 100%, and I actually don't regret it. I actually don't, because I wanted it for like ever. I bought the Spotlight one, the one that matches my skin tone beautifully, at the beginning of the year. And I loved it so passionately that as soon as this released, I wanted it. And I wanted it and wanted it and wanted it for like 5 or 6 months. Like, I spent all of this time deciding about it. I waited for the desire to fade. I really gave myself time. I hoped that I would outgrow the desire for it, that I wouldn't want it. And eventually got to the point where I was like, you know, I actually genuinely do want this. The desire isn't going away. I've given myself time and I have budget. And at the time, there wasn't anything else that I desperately wanted to buy. And so I made the decision to allot some of my budget to it. And I just feel like that whole process was very responsible. It's very much the way that I want to do things. It's the way that I want to proceed, and I feel good about it. I think the only thing I could have done more to prevent this from happening, this purchase and then declutter, would have been to go and try it in store and swatch it and like try it on my face and then find out what I found out by buying it. But I couldn't do that this year because of COVID. So it's not actually on my list of regrets. I'm putting it up a little bit. It's at the very bottom of the list of things that I don't regret buying, because I decided not to keep it because it didn't end up looking good on me. But I totally understand myself. And in fact, I support my past self for having done what I did. It was just too bad that it didn't actually end up being what I thought it would be. It didn't end up working out. Okay, now we're getting into the weeds. So if you remember the things that I've told you that I bought, then you will know that in the second half of this year, I bought nail polish. And I'm keeping the nail polishes that I bought. They're beautiful. Actually, they're so freaking beautiful. Like, one is, they're from this brand, Cirque Colors, and I really like the brand. And one is called Beatnik, and it's this like beautiful kind of brilliant avocado. And one's called Kaleidoscope, and it's this stunning, like different shapes of reflective glitter, like really big, chunky, reflective, like harlequin shapes of glitter in a clear base. I actually have used the harlequin one, the kaleidoscope. I used it on some really long, crazy, like almond colored nails for that, like fake nails that I had put on for my cheek product declutter. I just stuck them on and then I painted them with that polish and they looked stunning in the video. Like I love the polish and it was so fun to use them for that video. And I think that they were very editorial for YouTube. And I'm making it sound like I don't regret buying them. And maybe I kind of don't. It's just that every time I think about them, I'm like, why did you buy nail polish, Hannah? Like, you don't paint your nails. What I do is that I stick on the pop-on nails for videos and sometimes, for a couple of days at a time. And the idea was that I would like paint the pop-on nails with the nail polish. I just got really into the idea of nail polish, the feeling of nail polish and nails. And I was like, I'm gonna buy nail polish. I'm gonna buy nail polish. And then I bought it and I was so excited in the little jar and like the little shaky and the smell and the colors. And I got really into that headspace. But the reality is that I don't paint my nails. And I haven't really been wearing the fake nails. And also the fake nails that I've been getting from Static, I really like the way that they look. Like, I like the colors of them. So I've like gotten these false nails, these pop-on manicures, and then I haven't wanted to paint them because I don't want to paint over the way they already look because I like the way that they already look. So Beatnik, the yellow avocado-y one, I haven't even used it yet, you guys. I haven't even used it yet. And the other one, Kaleidoscope, I only used it that one time, just to paint that one set of nails just for that video. And then I immediately popped off the nails because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't cook and like change diapers like with those nails on. So they were just dumb purchases. It was just, I understand why I fell for it, because if I were someone who wore nail polish, my choices would have been exquisite. Like the green one's basically the color of this sweater. It's very me. And the Kaleidoscope one is basically exactly like the glitter that I have on my eyes. It's very me. I basically saw them and I was like, those two together are like me in a nail polish. And I had budget. I hadn't bought anything. There wasn't really anything else I wanted to buy. And I just fell for it. I just gave myself a little treat by like whipping myself up into a frenzy about these colors, these exact colors and textures, because I love color and I love texture, without remembering to remind myself that I love color and I love texture and I love buying stuff, but I don't love nail polish. And that's why I regret it. So I'm keeping them and I'll probably end up using them in the future. It's not like I'm decluttering them or they don't work for me or something. I wish I had saved that money and put it towards something that I would love the way that I love the Doan dress, the stuff that's at the top of the list. And then the last item is actually the thing at the very bottom of the list. Is actually something that I think in a vacuum is great and that is actually really lovely. I talked about it. It was that same month that I bought the nail polish. And maybe I was just having like a weird month where I wasn't like thinking things through very much, or I was like feeling impulsive or something. I think every month has been hard this year, you know what I mean? And so like, I'm sure that it was just the hardness of the year and the weirdness getting to me this particular month because all of these three purchases were grouped together. But I talked about this in that video. It's an oversized beigey white, like a very slightly off-white ivory t-shirt, really, really oversized and slouchy. And I do like it. I've worn it a lot. I've worn it on camera. I've worn it a lot with those beautiful wide leg pants from Bastet Noir for like an all white outfit. And it looks beautiful on camera. And I like having it and I'm keeping it and I'm still wearing it. And it's not like I'm sorry that I have it, but I bought it. I added it to an order when I was buying Joe some pants for his birthday, and I wouldn't have bought it on my own. Like it was an opportunistic buy. I just couldn't stand it. I was like buying Joe these pants and I was just like, ooh, I have an opportunity for something for myself to piggyback on that order. So that's one thing. Even though I like the item itself, that's one thing that makes me feel not as amazing about it. And that's one of the reasons why it's at the bottom of the list. I'm like kind of ranking things with an eye to how I feel about the headspace I was in when I made the purchase and how I feel about the act of the purchase, what it represents for me as someone who's working on trying to refashion her way of shopping and her relationship with beautiful things. So it was, I feel like, maybe the least healthy for me of all of the purchases that I made in terms of the act. So that's part of why it's at the bottom. And then the other thing that puts it at the bottom is that the reason that I wouldn't have bought it, that I wouldn't have like gone and placed the order of myself just in a vacuum, is that it's from ASOS. And it's in ASOS, I mean, I know that not everything that they carry is fast fashion. And in fact, I've looked into this brand even since I filmed that video. It's by a brand called Weekday. And Weekday itself, I actually think is not anything that I would consider fast fashion. I think that Weekday itself is actually pretty conscientious. And I even think that this was like sustainably sourced cotton and all of this stuff. So that was good. That made me feel a little better. But ASOS isn't a brand that I would like make a decision to like make a purchase from for myself. I think of it as being like a Zara or an H&M or something like that. And I just, you know, I think I'm not out here like doing a bunch of shopping from brands like that right now. It's not my first choice. And so I definitely wouldn't have bought it by myself without provocation. But because I was getting Joe those pants that he wanted for his birthday, I added it in. And in doing so, I kind of like allied it around my thinking about the kinds of brands that I want to be supporting with my budget, I guess is where I am kind of ending up with this. So, you know, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. And so the nail polishes and that one top from ASOS, from Weekday via ASOS, all of those, I'm kind of like, you know, if I could go back and do it over again now as my current self, I would not buy those three things. And that's why they're regrets, even though I am keeping them, I am going to enjoy them and get good use out of them. I think, you know, given that I bought this top from ASOS, the best thing that I can do is to make sure that I wear it and wear it and wear it and wear it. So since I did buy it, that's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to keep it and use it and treat it well and wash it well and just make sure that it lasts as long as I can get it to last, and then not buy other things to replace it because I have it and it'll just be the one. I feel like I need to go. It's like noises to the left of me, noises to the right of me over here. I hope it wasn't too distracting during this video. I know that there was a lot of noise, but I live in a household with 4 other people, some of whom can't control the volume of their voice. So that's it. Let this be a lesson to all future Hannahs. Yes to the investment pieces. Yes to the beautiful house dresses. And no to just picking up a little nail polish that you're never going to use simply because you happen to love color and texture and you think that it's the you version of a nail polish, you know? I say let this be a lesson to future Hannahs, and I do hope that it will be. But I actually think, especially given like the context of the way the year of less stuff ended up going, I actually think that the bigger lesson for me is that like, it's okay. Like it's okay. And really something I haven't even mentioned yet, and I did say I was about to stop the video, and there's still noises to the left of me and noises to the right of me, but we're just gonna get this out and then we'll stop, is that it's not that much stuff, right? What did I say? 8, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 12 items, 12 individual items for this 6-month period. So that averages out to 2 items a month. And I do like love that for myself. I do love that. I feel glad that I've ended up really kind of focusing my budget in this way. And I do hope that I can continue to do that. And if I can carry that forward and also manage to not do what I did for the things that are at the very bottom of this list anymore, I'll be really glad with the progress that I'm making. But what I was trying to say is that this to me is already progress, right? Just having there be a few things that I regret, but that I can very clearly and easily put my finger on why I regret, to be able to catch myself in the act in the future with that information. That is all, like that is everything to me. And to have there be things on this list that I am really glad that I bought, that I really love and will continue to love, and to have that be most of the things, that is great. So that is all. That's everything. I hope that this was fun to watch. And I really, really hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself. because that's what will make you the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.